Well, it's Tuesday Wrestling, and you all know what that means. That means once again we get to review NWA Powerrr, where of course you know we're still building up for the Crockett Cup, one annual tournament for the tag team division, and of course we have NXT. As you know, we get closer and closer to Battleground, and of course we continue with more of the Women's Championship tournament, and of course not only just what's happening in Tuesday, across the Pacific, we have some Japanese shows that took place on that very same day. We have GLEAT with their latest show, G Pro Wrestling version 52. The G Rex title is put on the line between challenger Czech Shimatani versus T Hawk from Strong Hearts. And of course, we have other matches that are taking place that are gonna be good to talk about. And of course, we continue with more of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Best of the Super Juniors. We're going to see how far they extend on this one. So, oh yeah, and I forgot. My bad. We got some news updates. We definitely got to be sharing what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, let's begin with GLEAT with G Pro Wrestling version 52. And I believe they're in a town, I forgot what them, I didn't write it down. But anyway, opening match, we have the members of the Yans family, more consistent with Yusuke, Kodama, and Takanori Ito. Now, their third man, of course, Masato Kamino, or Kamino Masato. Hopefully, I don't know which one is his name. Is going to be out of action due to an injury. But they brought in a tag team, another person to fill in. Well, he's not an official member, but they make him look like he's like an honorary member of the Yans family, and that is Yuya Suzume. He feels like, no, guys, sorry, I don't want to wear that shirt, but basically they need to feel like they're at home. So that's it. But however, their opponents, it's a very interesting group. We have Kaz Hayashi, Minoru Tanaka, and what's his name? Noriyuki Yoshida. Now, as you know, the Yans family are a very talented group, but however, because of the X factor of Suzume being there, it kind of may have thrown them off. But however, in this case, it was Tanaka who was able to pick up the pinfall on Kodama. Now, this could be a problem for the Yans family, but we'll see what happens then. Next up, we got singles action. We have Yu Iizuka taking on a Quiet Storm from Bulk Orchestra. Now, this is a very interesting match. Now, Yu Iizuka, he is good for what he can do. He's an excellent striker, but he also can throw in a bit of the submission. But he's facing a very powerhouse dude, which is Quiet Storm. That always plays out. But it was Quiet Storm who pulled off the victory when he applied the Brainbuster, giving him the win. Now, our next match, we got Issei Onitsuka taking on Utani. This is a very interesting matchup. Now, Onitsuka, as you know, I don't know what was the significance of him no longer being with Strong Hearts. I'm going to presume that maybe he's just too crazy, too wild, or he doesn't act like a Strong Heart or whatever the scenario is. But he seems like he's doing great on his own since leaving Strong Hearts. He was able to pick up a victory onto Utani when he speared him. But however, as he knows that when he got out of the ring thinking that he was safe, no. He was viciously attacked by the members of the Black Generation International. And then, of course, Bulk Orchestra were there to put them in check. Now, they are scheduled to be in a 6-man tag match a little later. Now, our next match, we have tag team action. We have 60 seconds, consistent of Jun Tonsho and Tetsuya Izushi to take on Soma Watanabe and El Lindaman. This is a pretty interesting matchup. Now, I know that Soma Watanabe has teamed up with the members of 60 Seconds in the past. Soma, he is very talented, but he hasn't picked up the bigger pop that he should be, more of the elevation that he needs. But he was able to pick up the win when he applied his drop kicks onto, I believe, Tonsho. I think, let me put that. Yep, on Tonsho Watanabe to pick up the win. But however, at the end of the match, he got in. Tetsuya Izushi was not happy how the results ended in that favor. Now, I did mention it seemed like they really like. I don't know if 60 Seconds are interested in having him join. I know they are trying to expand. There's only 4 members of the group, but I don't know what happens then. But we'll see how this relations between Watanabe and 60 Seconds goes on from there on. Now, our next match, we have the 6-man tag. We have Bork Orchestra, consistent of Kazuma Sakamoto, Miyata Tamura, and of course Ruchi Kawakami. Now, recently there has been some dissensions between certain members of the group towards the return of the leader, Kawakami. But however, they have to stay on course, knowing they're dealing with Black Generation International, consistent of Kotaro Suzuki, Hartley Jackson, and Kaito Ishida. Now, keep in mind, before Black Generation ever came to GLEAT, Bork Orchestra has always been going out saying that they are the #1 faction in GLEAT. However, Black Generation are trying to outmaneuver them in every aspect. So that kind of sets it out. But however, in this particular match, it was an underhook power bomb by Suzuki onto Kawakami that put away the match. There were some miscommunications between both Sakamoto and Kawakami. Now, Sakamoto does have a bit of issues since you're like this, you're the leader. Where the hell were you? We know that Sakamoto had this type of situation in the past when he was in Dragon Gate, but we'll see how that turns out. Now, for our main event, we have, of course, the G-Rex title, Czech Shimatani versus T-Hawk. Now, as you all know, Czech is in fact one half of the G Infinity Tag Champions with Tamura. But this was a pretty good, strong match. Czech, who is a bit more shorter, but much strong competitor. He almost has like a similar capability to Il Lindaman for his height. But it did not stop him there. But unfortunately, it was T-Hawk who finished off Czech in order to pin him. 1, 2, 3. He retained the title. However, as you know, we expect who was going to be the next challenger. Apparently, 2 of them showed up, and that is, of course, Tetsuya Izushi and Soma Watanabe. So I don't know exactly what the deal is. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a #1 contender or a triple threat. So we'll see how that progresses on. So I think T-Hawk doesn't care how it goes, but we'll see where it takes us. And I think that's pretty much it with GLEAT, and I believe we should move on to our next review, and that is New Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan Pro Wrestling as we continue with more of the best of the Super Juniors. This is, I think, day 4, and I think they're in Akita in this one. Now, let's start with our first match, starting with Block B. We have Clark Connors versus Yo. Now, Yo has to be more careful what he has to do because Clark Connors, he is a wild rhino. However, as you know, Clark Connors does have a change of attitude since joining the Bullet Club. But there were some interesting moments. Yo decided, I'm going to take a page out of a book from my dear friend Yano. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm referring to, Yano likes to take off the safety out of the corner buckle out of nowhere. That's a typical Yano thing he does. Now, I never seen Yo do that. I don't know if he's using ways to ensure he finds ways, because think about it. He knows he's not facing no slouch. But Yo was able to hang in there until he applied the 5-star clutch, giving him the win. However, because of this win, he got himself beat up by Clark Connors, sending a direct message. So, let's see what happens then. Now let's jump into Block A. We have Titan versus Ryosuke Taguchi. Now, Taguchi has not been having a good year, Best of the Super Juniors so far. But Titan, we know he is one of those potential wrestlers that could make it to the top, but depending if he can make it. But he was able to apply the Llave Immortal onto Taguchi, giving him the win, giving him his 2 points. Now we jump back to Block B. We have Robbie Eagles versus Bushi. So this is a pretty good, interesting matchup. However, as you know, Robbie Eagles is one of the fan favorites in this these particular tournaments, since even though he is Australian, but everybody loves him. But he was able to apply his brand new finisher called the Trigger and take out Bushi's head off, and boom, 1, 2, 3, it's over. He wins the tournament. He wins the match, my bad. Now let's jump back to Block A. We have TJP versus Doiki. Now TJP wasted no time with Doiki. He even tried to apply the Mamba Splash in order to pick up the win. So he thought in every aspect that this will help him try to pick up the win. But however, Doiki was not playing any games one way or the other. He did try the Doki Choki as something that Gino Gambino would say, but it was ineffective to try to put him until finally TJ put him away with the Black Mamba Splash, once again giving him the win. Now in Block B, we have the showdown between members of the United Empire. Dan Maloney versus Francisco Akira. Now these two men held nothing back. That is something that we are supposed to expect, due to the fact that they want who is going to make it all the way to the finals. Now, Great-O-Khan did mention in a press conference that he believes that someone in the United Empire will make it all the way through. I highly doubt that, because there's other competitors that many people are voting for who would be. But it was Francesco Carroll with the fireball onto Dan Maloney that pick up the win and give him his 2 points. Now let's jump in with Block A. We have Mike Bailey versus Kushida. Now this is a very interesting development in this particular matchup. Speedball, on the other hand, he is undefeated. Kushida, it was winless. But this was a very unique match. Basically, Kushida tried to throw in a bit of the submission striking capabilities in this type of matchup, just strictly for Mike Bailey, which would help. But however, it was the cross heel hook that Kushida applied onto Speedball, forcing him to tap out, and now Mike Bailey has one loss on this particular tournament. And as for Kushida, he finally gets his win. So this is a very interesting match, but we'll see how far these progress. Mike Bailey, as from my understanding, he's amongst those wrestlers that many fans believe he could go all the way. Now, from that, we jump into Block B. We have El Desperado taking on Kevin Knight, one half of our current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. Nothing too big on this one, but we all probably thought maybe Desperado could pick up the win due to the fact that he is one of the best Junior Heavyweight competitors in the division. But he was able to apply the Pinche Loco onto Kevin Knight, giving him the win. Okay. Now we jump in back to Block A. We have Sho versus Hiromu Takahashi. Now, however, Sho comes out in regular plain clothes, claiming that, that Hiromu Takahashi was nowhere to be found, so the match has to be forfeit. Typical Sho, typical effing House of Torture. Try to prove otherwise. Try to weasel the way out to ensure they pick up wins. However, Hiromu shows up with his body and torso all tied up, all thanks to, of course, the House of Torture, these numbskulls, Evil in particular, showing up. But it did not work. Nothing backfires. But, however, Sho had to wrestle in his wrestling gear, and wrestle in plain clothes in order to proceed that. But of course, like any other typical match, whenever Show is involved, effing Evil is right there. Now, you probably thought Evil would get involved. Well, he did. But Hiromu tried to pull a Eddie Guerrero. If you guys don't know what he tried to pull, we all know Show's main weapon that he uses, that freaking wrench. But Hiromu was able to grab it. Then he striked himself, like telling her, he struck me. No, 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 no. I didn't. And of course, Hiromu strike, what's his name? Evil. And then, of course, the same thing with Show. And then he applied Time Bomb 2. But he decided, you know what? For good measure, let's do the first original Time Bomb. And it's over. I think this is embarrassment for Show. He's not picking up any good wins. But better luck next time, kid. Or as James Storm would say, sorry about your damn luck. Now, our next match, we jump back to Block B. We have Yoshinobu Kanemaru versus Master Wato. Now, Wato hasn't picked up, already has a 1 win in this one. I think he has 2 losses. However, this is a very interesting matchup because with Kanemaru, we know he is what he's capable of. Wasn't too sure exactly how this outcome was going to be, but it was, of course, Master Wato with the Zutentaku German that allowed him to pick up the win. So it's a very interesting matchup, but we'll see how he progresses. We know Wato has all the talent in the world, but he needs that moment where he needs to fulfill it. Now, our main event, we have Taiji Ishimori versus Lio Rush. I have to say, this is the most brutal match I ever seen. Now, Taichi, he is not intimidated by Lio Rush. I don't think he gives a shit about Lio Rush, what his reputation. But Lio Rush, he's always determined to face the best of the best. And Taiji Ishimori is the exception, knowing that he is the best. So that kind of sets in it. Now, you probably would thought, how is this going to be? Will Taiji Ishimori break his undefeated record, or will it be Ishimori? These two men were undefeated in this tournament. But however, it was the final hour to finally put away Ishimori and giving Lio Rush the win. Now let's talk about the point-based system on this one. I believe we should start with the A block. Let me pull up real quick. Okay, here's who we have right now for A block. Kushida has 2 points with 1 win and 3 losses. Royce Kataguchi 0 with no wins whatsoever, with all 4 losses actually. Lio Rush in the lead with 4 wins so far. Doiki with only 1 win and 3 losses with 2 points. Takahashi, he has 2 losses and 2 wins with 4 points. Titan, he has 6 points with 3 wins and 1 loss. TJP, 2 wins and 2 losses, that's with 4 points. Taiji Shimori, 3 wins and 1 loss, that's 6 points. Sho, he has 2 points with 1 win and 3 losses. And then finally, Mike Bailey, 3 wins and 1 losses with 6 points. So practically right now, Lio Rush is in the lead. So this is good. Now for our B block, guys, we have El Desperado with 6 points with 3 wins and 1 loss. Yo, 2 wins and 2 losses. Kevin Knight, 1 win and 3 losses. Master Wato, 2 wins and 2 losses, 4 points. Kanemaru, same thing, 2 wins and 2 losses, 4 points. Bushi, 0 with 4 losses. Robbie Eagles, 6 points with 3 wins and 1 loss. Same thing with Akira. And then finally we have Dan Maloney and Clark Connors, the same thing, with 2 wins and 2 losses each. So they both have 4 points. So right now it seems looking good for the B block. We have El Desperado, Robbie Eagles, and Akira in the lead. So they both have 6 points, but Lio Rush is in the lead. We'll find out what happens on the next New Japan show, because there's going to be another one taking place after this one. That's for the next episode. But right now, let's move on with NWA. Okay, NWA Powerrr. Now, as you know, I talked about this, the Crockett Cup. We're now getting close. We're getting now build up for this particular show. That nothing has been mostly talked about this entire Crockett Cup throughout this entire show. Now, our opening match is the NWA Women's World Television Title. Kenzie Page makes another defense. This time she faces Sierra. Very interesting matchup, but not too much of a big. I know that Kenzie Page will do everything in her power to, hopefully, if the rules apply, to get her hands on the NWA Women's Championship. But however, it was the Kenzie cutter to put away Sierra, making sure that the title remains in her side. Now, our next interview is EC3. Now, at the Crockett Cup, Billy Cyrus has consistently now targeting for the national heavyweight title that EC3 has. So it appears that EC3 thinks that, oh, you're just this guy or whatever. He doesn't seem too concerned. Probably he thinks that Billy is full of it. I mean, Billy, he's an amazing wrestler. He's not afraid to go where he needs to go, even if he has to go rough or drew blood. That is one of the things. I'm surprised that EC3 hasn't even applied some mind games with him, but we'll see what happens then. Now we have a Crockett Cup tune-up match. We have Kratos teaming up with Odison, taking on Zion and Jordan Clearwater. Now, I don't know for sure if Clearwater and Zion will be participating in the tournament together in the Crockett Cup, since we know that Tyrus has asked Chris Adonis to be his partner. But, however, certain parts of this match, you probably would have presumed that this would have fallen in favor of Zion and Jordan Clearwater. I have to say, we probably would have been wrong. It was an amazing pounce by Odison onto Zion, but it was Kratos who picked up the win since he was the legal man. However, this is a very bad situation. Since Zion lost the NWA National Heavyweight Championship, now he refuses to listen to anybody, especially to his dad, Austin Idol. But we'll see where they're going to go on this one. Now, we do get another interview. It appears that we have another team that's now been formed for the Crockett Cup. Our current NWA World Television Champion, Tom Latimer, has asked Red Titus to be his tag partner. So it's no secret, even though they're both good-looking men, but they both have some in common. They have bumped into each other on many occasions, and I think Red Titus feels comfortable. He can trust Latimer, and Latimer feels the same way. But they believe they're 100% confident they can take this all the way. I mean, there's really strong competitors we're going to see in the tournament. We get to see the full who's going to be participating till then. So it's very interesting to see. Now, our next match we have is Fodder versus Alex Taylor, and the debut of Koa Laksamana. I don't know who he is, but seems like people were behind this guy Koa. I don't know much about him. I mean, he's practically new to NWA and probably new to me as a wrestling fan in general. But he was very interesting. Seems like he was able to get the crowd going. But however, he has to face Fodder, who's a very psychotic guy. Not to mention his main squeeze is outside the ring. But he also has Alex Taylor, who we know he's a good, capable wrestler. But he was able to pick up the win by applying the hair of the dog onto Koa, and boom, win the match. Now we do get a final interview by May, where she meets up with Magnum Muscle, consistent of Mims and Drag Draper. Now, apparently they have suffered a loss recently, but they will be facing the NWA World Tag Team Champions. So basically, now they're on focus. Now they know that their legs can be cut off at any time to proceed in, but their main focus is those tag titles. So we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match, we have a very interesting women's tag match. We have La Barbara Escobar teaming up with La Rosa Negra. This seems like a pretty good duo. These two women are Latino women. They seem like they can get along great. Not to mention shake their little bodies around. Yep. But they have to face the most craziest team and very cheatable team. We're talking about pretty empowered, consistent of Ella Envy and Roxy. Now, you probably would have assumed that Rosa Negra and Escobar could win due to the fact that Rosa Negra is a veteran of the game, but it was, of course, some good communications between both Ella and Roxy. They were able to overcome that, but it was, of course, Roxy who picked up the win when she pinned Escobar, giving them the win. I wouldn't be surprised if those two will make another play for the NWA Women's World Tag Team titles. So we'll see what happens with the NWA until then. Right now, let's move on to our last and final review, NXT. Okay, NXT, our final review, so let's get cracking. Open up with, of course, continuing with the quarterfinals of the Women's Championship Tournament. We have the Mean Girl, or the so called savior of the NXT Women's Division, take on Fallon Henley. Now, Fallon, as you know, she was a very interesting wrestler to follow. I mean, we've been seeing that story, what they've been doing. But, however, some point during the match, she got, seems like she injured, might have hurt herself during the injury. But, of course, Cora Jade was being smart enough to know she can use that in her advantage. Now, seems like Fallon had Cora where she wanted her, but apparently she was smart enough to get herself out of the ring, but smart enough to get back in order to use the ring ropes in her advantage to take out the knee of Fallon Henley and then apply the DDT. Now it's appeared now that Cora, since winning the match, she will face Lyra Valkyria. Now, Lyra Valkyria did lost to Cora before, but the real question is, will history repeat itself? We'll just gotta wait and see until then. Now, Kiana James, as you know, she's like saying all this stuff that's been going on in the tournament. She decided to do a little spill with Thea Hell, who wasn't even involved in the tournament. But Thea Hell decided to prove that she should have been in the tournament, and she asked, well, Chase, Mr. Chase is not around. Apparently, Duke Hudson was there and said, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want. You probably ask yourself, do you think that was wise by Mr. Duke to do that? I don't know. But, yeah. So the match was later set for a little later. Now, while in the backstage, before we head to a very interesting tag match that was supposed to have, Tyler Bate and Wesley were viciously attacked by the Dyad. Now, Joe Gacy, with his little mind games, he thinks that this whole thing between Bate and Wes is basically their friendship is based on a lie. So the obvious thing is it or is it not? We'll get to that in a bit. However, when Mello and Trick Williams showed up, as you know, they have not forgotten what happened last week. So they're calling out Braun Breaker to deal with it. But however, they got Drew Gulak and, of course, what's their name? Charlie Dempsey, who are not happy with the result, how their match is not going to happen against Wheatley and Bate. They decided, to squeeze themselves with Mello and Trick, which, of course, did happen. So we'll get to that in a bit. Now, Dijak, on the other hand, as you know, he has been serving himself as judge, jury, and executioner. But Ilya Dragunov has proven time and time again that he's a man that cannot be broken. But Dijak believed that he could do it. So this is going to be like a very interesting thing between them. Now, our next match, we have the Creed brothers versus the Dyad. Now, we know these two teams have has met before in the ring, but recently we have seen Ava Reigns and of course, Ivy now getting each other's faces. But a very interesting moment I did like is where, of course, Julius Creed and what's his name, Fowler. Rip Fowler, I think they're trying to outdo each other, who can do better. But however, there was a moment where Fowler got involved right and close to Ivy Nile, and then Ava Reigns tried to take her out, but it was countered by the Dragon Sleeper by Ivy Nile to put away. But it was, of course, Julius with a sliding lariat onto Fowler to pick up the win. But however, as you know, these two, the Creed brothers, that have one thing in common they do want to have, is the tag team titles. But however, we know that the D'Angelo family do have their sights set on those titles while they're having dinner Stacks went to take her some business until some cops took D'Angelo for questioning. I wouldn't be surprised if Gallus had something to do with it. But however, watching this, of course, the Creed brothers laid out the challenge, saying that they want to be the ones to challenge for the NXT tag team titles at Battleground. So we'll see how that plays out as well. Now, once again, we have the Supernova Sessions returning, making its debut into NXT. Now, Noam Dar has initially targeted Dragon Lee, who thinks of him as a potential threat for his NXT Cup, Heritage Cup. But, however, like any other interview with Noam Dar to make it look more about himself, he is got interrupted by Nathan Frazier, someone he is oddly familiar with. So basically, that was gonna happen. So his plan towards Noam Dar worked. So that could says it all. But Noam Dar doesn't seem like things didn't go his way. Apparently, tried to talk to Lash Legend, thinking about his talk show, but he's saying no one's talking about yours or the Grayson Waller. That I'm the original talk host, which is true. I thought it was interesting. Now, Jay-Z Jane, as you know, is part of the tournament. Once again, decides to badmouth Gigi Dolan, since Gigi, we know she did not win her match last week, so she refuses to let it go in some capacity. Now, our next match, we have Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey taking on Mello and Trick Williams. This is a very interesting matchup. I don't think that either both Williams and Mello will ever face guys like Gulak and Dempsey. These guys are a bunch of technical wrestlers that they'll put you in a very technical submission that you probably won't get out. But luckily, in the end, of course, Mello was the one who applied nothing but net onto Dempsey in order to pick up the win. But in post-match, of course, once again, they call out Braun Breaker. But Braun Breaker was at another place, which is the same place where they get their haircut. Everybody else was nervous, like they couldn't say a damn thing. Like they know that they want to say something to Braun Breaker, but they're just too scared of him. But he said he will show up. But we'll see how that turns out at the end of the night. Now, Thea Hale versus Kiana James. You probably can guess this match was a very interesting one. But however, how would this end? I mean, Duke Hudson, he doesn't seem like he's too compelled about what Thea Hale's doing. He's more try to grade papers. I thought that's like a very interesting thing for him to do. I mean, we don't see Andre Chase doing that often. But apparently, it was the 4-1K that finished off Hale by Kiana James in order to pick up the win. So this is a very disappointing loss towards this. Now, it appears, as you know what happened, Tank Ledger and Hank Walker had a very interesting hoss fight between Jensen and Briggs. And apparently Jensen and Briggs are impressed by them. Like, they feel like they are saying these guys are good, tough guys to hang around with. So, of course. But Hank and Tank decided, you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe we need to make ourselves better by going at each other. Basically, they're saying, how about me go against you, Hank? Let's make this a real hoss fight. And I think that's a very interesting thing. So basically, it's like they are not afraid to challenge each other. I think that's a good thing for any tag teams we've seen. Now, we do try to get a medical update on what happened with Lee and Briggs. Seems like, Lee and Bate, but Bate seems like he got his entire arm right here taped up. But of course, we do see Lee go up to do a promo. He talks about he's sick and tired of Joe Gacy with his mind games and all this. And of course, Wesley told him, if you wanted a North American title shot, all you gotta do is ask. Don't attack me. So he's being polite, but of course, Joe Gacy being cryptic that he is. But however, Tyler Bate kind of admit that he does have the ambitions to proceed for the North American title. So most likely we will see a triple threat match, but Wesley probably will have to consider what if Joe Gacy was right all this time. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, we do see they showed a little video involving Davikato Advocato. So basically, some wrestlers in the back were like a bit more talking, like Axiom, Eddie Thorpe, Malik Blade, and Alpha Edris, and of course, who was there? Dante Champ. But Edris has to open his damn mouth and all this. But Axiom, he seems like he is trying to consider what if he could be the one to take him out. I mean, he is calculated, but we'll see about that. Now, our main event is the last of the quarterfinals of the Women's Championship tournament. We have Jay-Z Jane versus the former champion, Roxanne Perez. Now, this is a very interesting match. Now, we know that Roxanne Perez has challenged Jay-Z Jane before, but however, Jay-Z Jane hasn't forgotten, so she is confident enough to believe she could walk out as the winner. But luckily, it was Roxanne who was able to overcome all of what Jay-Z Jane tried to improve onto her, was able to apply the pop rocks, giving her the win. But however, in the semifinals, she will face none other than Tiffany Strand, the so-called center of attention, who claims that this title should be hers. But while that was happening, apparently Jay-Z Jane was attacked by Gigi Dolan. Seems this feud is far, far from over. Now, as soon as everything was cleared out, Mello and Williams called out Braun Breaker and all of this. And Braun Breaker didn't come alone. He brought security to have Mello be protected from him. But it did not go so well, apparently, because Mello had enough of Braun Breaker for what he says, and it turned into a full-blown brawl. So it went out of control, and that's how it ended. So we'll see what happens until we get to Battleground. I think that's pretty much it right now, so let's end it with some news updates. Alright, welcome to our news updates. So this is what we have for everyone. For our GCW updates for the May 20th event, The Way I Am, the GCW World title will be defended. Now, this is a very interesting one. Masha Slamovich defends the title, not one with with 5 other competitors, and all of them are in the women's division in this one. Well, she has Lufisto, Shayna McKenzie, Maki Ito, Allison Kay, and Ali Catch. This is huge. I just hope Masha doesn't bit off more she can chew, but we'll see what happens. Now, for the I Can't Save You event on the 22nd, there's going to be a match between Team GCW versus Team Unsanctioned Pro. Now, I don't remember who's involved in both teams, but this is going to be interesting to watch. Now, for the Tournament of Survival event on the 8th, as you know, we already have 9 competitors that already been announced. Number 10 has been announced. It's going to be none other than the former one half of the GCW Tag Team Champions, Miedo Extremo, will participate. And of course, our final update, as you know, we have our new show that takes place in July at Hartford, Connecticut, for Cleanup Man. Nick Gage has been announced to participate, but now his opponent has been announced, none other than Psycho Clown. This is gonna be awesome. Psycho Clown versus Nick Gage. I can't wait. For the Prestige event taking place on July 8th and 9th for the Cascadia Wrestling Cup, they announced Liza Hall will participate. Very interesting, so we'll see. The West Coast Pro Show Cruel Summers on the 8th of July. Jeff Cobb makes his return to the promotion, so this is going to be interesting. Spark Yoshi Puroso of America is announced for the Ignite West show on the 16th of June. Kid Bandit will participate. Now, our final update, any of my subscribers in the San Diego, California area, you may have heard the news, but if you guys haven't, it appears we have a brand new promotion that started, and this one is called Sky Fire Pro Lucha Libre. They are now established here. Now, no announcement yet of when is their first event. If they will do that, I'll make that on the next news updates on the next episode, so you guys can hear about it. I think that's pretty much it right now for our news updates, so let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode coming up. As you know, we have more on New Japan Pro Wrestling. We continue with the best of the Super Juniors, and we cannot forget AEW Dynamite. So this is going to be interesting. I haven't decided yet if there's going to be another show I want to throw in. There's one I was considering. This one is from another Japanese show that just recently took place for Tuesday, but because of the time I have, I decided I might want to do it another time. I may do PPP Tokyo. This will be the final time we'll see Chanyota, because she'll be out for at least 2 or 3 months, from my understanding. But I'll get more information on that. But also, if you guys follow my podcast, DWZ podcast with J Rod. I will do an episode real soon on this one. But also, I didn't do one last week because of the situation. But now I'm gonna do it sooner, so stand by for that too. So for right now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.